There's a viral video out right now, and it's been sweeping the internet, and it's of a teacher being filmed by a student, by the way, in secret, losing his mind, apparently, according to the left-wing media, for basically no reason on a class, even though he's saying in his rant all the reasons he's being bothered by these students. In fact, what he's going through is something that a lot of teachers go through, and that is an inadequate discipline system in some of our schools in this nation, and students that have absolutely no respect for authority and have no respect for the classroom. Now, with that being said, if you're stressed out, you don't need to go on this rant against kids that are bothering you, because that rant's just going to go in one ear, out the other, and then everybody's going to condemn you as a potential racist or some kind of psychopath. What you need to do is go over to today's sponsor, ApproveMyPet.com, and approve your service animal to relieve your stress. That is a nailed sponsor transition. Studies show that having a service animal with you can actually provide relief for anxiety and depression. One study in particular that came out in 2021 actually showed that the physical markers of somebody experiencing anxiety, higher pulse, higher blood pressure, and the hormones associated with stress are actually reduced in the presence of these animals. However, unfortunately, for the longest time, it's actually been cost prohibitive and difficult for you to get your animal designated a service animal. That's why we changed all of this. If you go to ApproveMyPet.com, then you will be able to get your animal approved so that you can enjoy all the stress relief that is associated with having a service animal. On top of that, once your pet is approved, you won't have to pay those expensive airline fees in order to travel your pet, and you'll be protected from the fees associated with pet deposits because your animal is designated as a service animal. Go to ApproveMyPet.com. You will be connected with a healthcare professional. 95% of the applicants qualify. Some of you will actually qualify for pre-approval and get this stress out of your life. ApproveMyPet.com. Now, as I said in my previous video, supporting the sponsors helps support this channel. It is a way to support me. And something like this can actually save you a lot of money if you travel frequently with your pet or you're forced to do the landlord deposits and all that. But into the main story. So, you have this rant. It's being filmed by a student. Ironically, the reason he was so annoyed with the disrespect from the students was the fact that they refused to put away their devices and they were acting up and talking trash to this teacher.
You in the office. You'll wait for me there after the second bell so I can dismiss the rest of the class. Does anyone else want to try my authority? Because I am fucking done playing with you idiots. I am here because I want to be here. I somewhat enjoy this job. You need something from me. I need nothing from you.
Now look, the rant is vulgar, obviously. You can hear it in the video clip that I just played for you and throughout the video clip. And a lot of people think that even though the stress of being a teacher, especially in a classroom like this, might have overwhelmed this guy, he needs to have some level of discipline, some level of control, because what he's doing is basically creating a bigger incident and warding these children off from education, because they would all be scholars if not for his attitude with these kids. But here's the thing, I'm not buying into any of that nonsense, and I'm also not buying into the left-wing nonsense that the reason he was stressed is the low pay. Low pay for teachers is often very overstated, especially when you factor in that their work year is about 180 days because that's the school year length, so they're being paid a full year's salary for about a half a year's worth of work. On top of that, they can do tutoring and other things to supplement their income, but we're not going to get into a teacher pay thing. But I'm just saying that the left has basically turned both sides of this narrative from their position into something to argue for what they already believe. And that's nonsensical, and you should notice that. Your low pay or whatever, if you're unhappy with that, leave your job. Get a different job. That's what you need to do. This is something far deeper, because students are insanely misbehaving across this country, and there's disciplinary regulations that started under the Obama administration that have carried over into this administration, the Biden administration, that prevent schools from not distributing punishments properly if those punishments are disproportionate to the makeup of the population of the school. So basically, it's the same thing we see with crime, where if it's racially disproportionate outcomes, no matter the inputs, no matter how logical those outcomes are based on the behavior of the people that are committing crimes or misbehaving in school, for this instance, you can actually be sanctioned by the federal government and declared racist and know that your funding will be revoked from you if you actually try to enforce a disciplinary policy that can curb this kind of behavior. So the kids know that there's no consequences for their actions. And by the time they get to this old, they're already acting up because they got them teenage hormones. And when they're not greeted with sufficient consequences, this is all left to the teacher. Imagine you have kids that won't put away their devices and you're trying to teach them. Imagine you have kids that are swearing at you, threatening you. By the way, the girl that plays victim in this, the girl that's filming this, actually threatened to assault the teacher throughout the course of the video. Weird how the local news stations that are on her side kind of edit that part out later on. But we're not going to do that. We're actually going to play that so you can hear it because you need to hear it.
And if you think it's funny, I can take you down to the county office and we'll pull the fucking numbers. And if you don't like my language, I don't give a shit. Because you've said worse. And if you, again, Samaya, you leave too. Get out now. Get your shit, get out.
I'm not.
Get out now. I didn't fucking ask a question. I told you to get the fuck out. Now get the fuck out. Anyone else want to play games? Get your stuff and get out. Put your phone away. No, oh, do what you're fucking told. Get out. Now. Now. Get out. No, I don't. I see you taking your time and acting with an attitude. You have no right. You have no right to have an attitude. You don't talk over me. You shut the fuck up right now. Try me. Try me. Try me.
Whoa. Hey.
And you try to go to the school. You try to send these kids to the principal's office. You try to get security when they're getting violent. And you can't really punish them adequately because not enough Asian kids are acting up in the school for you to have a proportional disciplinary system.
You need something from me. I need nothing from you. You can go through life and live on the fucking system, draw your paycheck on the 1st and the 15th from my taxes, and live just an absolute horrible life. I don't care. You can be another statistic. I don't care. That's on you.
Now, I want to emphasize this part in particular because this is what is being emphasized by not only the local media, but the national media. The idea that he was saying, you guys are just going to end up living off the system, you guys are going to be another statistic, has basically been portrayed as not some way of him saying that's bad and you should aspire to do more, but actually him making racist comments against the students as if this teacher doesn't know where he is, what classroom he's in, what neighborhood he's in, because you get your students from the neighborhood because these are zip code schools. So he would have a much better idea of who he's dealing with, how their parents make their money than you would out there in the audience. And of course, this girl who's actively and flagrantly disrespecting the teacher right here actually went to the media to claim that this was racism.
Maya Josie is a sophomore at Southwest High School who recorded a part of the outburst on her phone. She says she started recording because she didn't think people would believe her when she told them what the teacher said to the class.
Because I'm done playing with you idiots.
I was scared. I didn't know what to do.
Samaya Josie says it all happened during first period after the teacher told the students to put their phones and computers away. She says one student didn't listen and then made a joke. She said that's when the rant began. But what bothered her the most was this comment made to the class.
You can go through life and live on the system, draw your paycheck on the 1st and the 15th from my taxes, and live just an absolute horrible life. I don't care. You can be another statistic.
I felt like what he was saying was wrong. I felt like it was racially motivated.
Isn't that beautiful? You're seeing a race grifter just start out right at the beginning, right at the inception, and it appears this is why the left wants critical race theory introduced into the schools, because when you introduce garbage like this, race grifting like this, the kids actually do respond. They do know how to react to it, and they do know how to profit off of it. Who says these kids can't learn? Who says these are underachieving schools? This girl just got an A+ in race grifting and race hustling, in basically obfuscating all consequences of her own actions, and she's making the point that she thinks this teacher was just being an evil white racist. And I don't even know the race of the teacher. He could not be white, but I know for sure he's likely not black because she's accusing him of racism as a way to get out of the consequences of her own behavior. And of course, she has her mother here, and her mother supports her, and her mother thinks the teacher crossed the line. By the way, one of the reasons why teachers are so stressed out is because parents who are oblivious to how their children act in the schools often take the side of their children against the teacher, even when it would be better for the kid, not for you to be the friend of the kid, but for you to actually be a parent.
It was disrespectful. Your job is to encourage me and to push me to be the best that I could be. Even though it wasn't said directly to me, it just felt like, dang, that's how you really think of us.
Her mother, Nikki Josie, says the teacher crossed the line with his language and with his aggression.
Even as her mother, even to listen to the video the first time, I had tears form in my eye.
And if you don't like my language, I don't give a because you've said worse. And if you, again, Samaya, you leave too. Get out now. Get out.
I'm not.
Get out now. I didn't.
That's absolutely amazing to me. The idea that this girl, in this very, very somber tone, is going to talk about how the teacher should be motivating her. The teacher should be inspiring her. The teacher should be making her the best that she could possibly be. And obviously the teacher failed. That's the reason for her lack of success and the lack of success that she will have in the future, because the teacher didn't do it for her. The teacher didn't make her a good student. He was just angry. And I can't believe that, even if it wasn't addressed at me, I was like, wow, that's what you think of us? Look at my very somber face in front of the camera. And by the way, let's contrast this very somber and serious face that she's portraying for the news media with her reaction to the rant that wasn't even against her, apparently, that was going down in the classroom. Look at her face. She's chewing gum. She's smirking. They're enjoying this because what these kids were doing was pushing this teacher to the point deliberately where he lost his mind and then laughing at him when he lost his mind. This was going in one ear, out the other. She was enjoying this because they enjoyed the suffering of this teacher, because these kids are brats that don't face consequences, because she has a parent that takes her side when she's obviously in the wrong. Again, the issue was put your devices away and pay attention to the class, and the students weren't doing that. She has her device out right there in the video. She's filming the whole thing, and she's filming her reaction to it. So she's performing based on the response of this, which is great because now we know for sure she performs in front of the camera. And while this is her laughing and being like, whoa, what a teacher. He's concerned about our future. What a jerk. What a bad person. Listen to him rant. All of a sudden she realized that performance doesn't really do well when you're trying to be a grifter. So she's in front of the local camera with her somber face and talking about how, I was just so hurt because, man, I think this was a bit racialist. Can you send me money for the fact that my teacher, who was probably justified in that level of anger, who probably faced 100 million times more disrespect in that classroom, lost his mind, and I was in the vicinity mocking him as he lost his mind because I don't care about his emotional state at all? Can you send me money if I call it racism? My mom's here with me. She wants the money too. Send her money because systemic structures and structural systems of racism. Ironically, when he was saying you don't want to mooch off of other people, you don't want to live through the system, you don't want to live off of taxpayers, this girl is going to be using that opportunity to ask for money from people who actually pay taxes.
Because I am done playing with you idiots.
I was scared. I didn't know what to do.
Try me! Try me! Try me!
Whoa. Hey.
Nikki says while she may not condone her daughter's actions that day, she defends them.
I think the respect went out the window a long time ago. And truthfully, that was fight or flight mode for her.
When you look back, do you think you should have done anything differently? Or do you stand by everything that happened that day?
I don't think I did anything wrong. If you was in my shoes, how would you feel? Like, what would you have done?
Now, while I will say, while the disciplinary issues in our public schools are not equal, unsurprisingly, the demographic, black people, that commit the most violent crimes just don't happen to start committing those crimes when they leave school. They have problems in their behavior that are reflected in school. The thing that the mom is doing right here, where she's taking the kid's side against the teacher, that is something that we see way too often in America, and that's not something that you can just put on black Americans. In fact, I saw a lot of responses on Twitter to this video from black Americans who said, you know what? I was as dumb as this girl. I was as dumb as these kids. I had teachers that we pushed and pushed and pushed until they went over the edge, and they would scream at us that they were trying to help us. And the thing is, I realized later in life that they actually were, and we should have listened to them. So there are people, specifically in that community, because honestly, the whole helicopter parenting thing and the whole my kid's always right is probably more common among white liberal parents than it is among black parents, who are saying, you know what, whatever the media is trying to spin this to, it's not legitimate. Whatever the media is trying to say about this, it is not the reality. I've went to one of these schools. I've had teachers like this that we pushed over the edge, and I know for a fact that our teachers are actually advocating for us. They're trying to help us, and these kids are making the same mistakes that we did. They're falling into the same traps, and honestly, I've seen worse meltdowns because we've had students behave worse when I was going to school. There's a ton of that out there, and I absolutely love it, and credit where credit is due, because if you haven't gone to one of these schools that get crazy like this, and by the way, I went to a public school in New York City, it got crazy, but nowhere near this level, then you don't understand what's going on. You don't understand the pressure that these teachers are put under, and you don't understand how bad these kids act. We did a story, or actually we didn't do a story. I saw a story on Twitter of a fight that broke out between a student and a teacher in a classroom, and during the course of the fight, the student struck the teacher over the head with a chair that he had thrown at him, and the teacher was bleeding from the head. And the whole entire time while this was happening, the kids in this classroom were laughing. This was a game to them. Putting this kind of pressure on the teacher, disrespecting them in every way possible, it's not fun. It's not a back and forth. In some instances, I'm sure it is, but in reality, it's them pushing somebody to the point where they break, and they were laughing the whole entire time. This was fun for them. This was a game for them. And the thing is that teachers, even though the whole thing with them being underpaid is often way overstated, because look at their work year, look at their benefits, look at all the other forms of compensation that you could not get in the private sector, they're still not becoming multi-millionaires off of working at that job. The pay still isn't that high. So a lot of them are there because they're passionate about education, because they want to form the next generation. A lot of them go to these schools because they saw a Hilary Swank movie where she talked to Emilio and she was like, yo, Emilio, listen up. You gotta be captured so that I could teach these other kids how to read, because that's what we do. And they thought, you know what? I could be Hilary Swank one day. I could do it. And what they're greeted with when they enter the classroom is stuff and behavior far worse than what Hilary Swank has ever had to gone through while she was saving those inner city kids. Now, you guys all know where I stand on this issue. You guys all know what side I'm on, especially when you have somebody playing victim in front of the cameras after we saw her threaten the teacher in the classroom, obviously on her own video, which proves that she's just a fraud. That being said, I will leave the floor open to you guys, because the teacher's rant was very profanity laced. It could have crossed the line, and in a lot of ways it did cross the line, and I understand why he can't come back to that classroom. But the overall sentiment, the overall things that led up to this, what do you think about that? Do you think it justifies this rant? Or are you in the camp that my beautiful angel child can never do anything wrong, even if they videotape themselves literally doing something wrong? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like the video, you can show me by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content. Follow me on all my social medias. You can support me via the support links in the description box of this video. This has been me talking about a teacher's rant and how I'm kind of on the side of the ranting teacher. Till next time.